Hi all, what I'm doing here is presenting you with a brief outline of Assessment 2 so that you know exactly what to do. Some of you may wonder why we're doing some research and teamwork in this subject. Well, this degree is accredited by Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand and CPA. And these two organisations require graduates that want to join them be able to collaborate, that is, that they can do some teamwork. So that's why we've got some teamwork here. We also want to help you develop your own skills in working as a team across the internet, because that's how work is being done more and more. Also, the Australian Qualifications Framework requires that all coursework masters graduates be able to respond with initiative, to research, and to interpret and transmit knowledge. So this is an exercise in helping you develop some research skills. You'll also be developing research skills in the first assignment, and any feedback you get on those will help you with this research. And of course, with respect to communicating this knowledge, I've provided you with some links that will help you develop a good voiceover PowerPoint so that you can really sell what you're doing to me and of course to the potential investors in the assessment. How to work in a team? Well, first of all, you need to find out who your team member's going to be, and you need to look at the introduction discussion forum and see who's in there and who you might know and who you'd like to get to work together with in your team. You may want to try and get some team members who you can work with face to face, or you may be happy with working online. So organise your team early. I know some people have already organised them, and let me know who your team members are. Once you've got that done, identify who's going to do what and when. And a great team building exercise is to just talk to each other in the team and find out who's good at doing what. And use the skills of the team to maximise the team result. Not everyone has to do the voiceover. Use someone who's got a really good, slick way of speaking, who speaks clearly and who can do that. Someone else might actually write the script, but use the skills of the team to maximise the team result. Right, now the decision criteria in this task. You've been given some criteria in the task to help you get started to work out whether or not you're going to set up a childcare centre in this particular local government area. And by local government area, I mean a council area. Local government area is what is the terminology used by the Australian Bureau of Statistics for them. Okay, so you're given some criteria. You also need to think if there are any other criteria that you need before you make your decision. And when you work out these extra criteria, you'll actually need to find some data to support that criteria, or not support that criteria. So you say, oh, look, we won't go here because this area doesn't have this particular thing. Now we're making decisions here, and topic 3 in this subject is on decision making. And the decision making in topic 3 is very much a mathematical rule-based decision making, but the steps in the decision making are just the same as in any normal decision that you make. You need to define the problem really, really carefully, and that's where the decision criteria come, because these will actually fall out from your definition of the problem. And here we've got a problem of finding an area where it'd be good to set up childcare centres. And so obviously we're going to want an area where there are going to be enough adults who are likely to have children, or where there are going to be enough children of childcare centre age. So there's some of the criteria that we've already got. Next step in decision making is listing all of the alternatives. Pretty straightforward, which local government areas there are. Then we need to identify possible outcomes. And again, this will depend on, again, your definition of the problem and the alternatives, and organise the payoffs. And obviously in a mathematical situation you'd be looking at the model that you'd be applying, and you'd be applying the model. In this decision we're not actually making the final decision. All we're doing is collecting the data and deciding the criteria on which to base the decision. And that's what your research task is about, collecting the data and presenting it so that we can make the decision. And what I've put here is a link to an article from the conversation, and it's a little bit of a humorous one. Do over-the-counter weight loss supplements work? And I think it gives you an idea about how you actually work out what decision criteria should be. If you look at the article, the aim of the article, the problem was, really, if you read it carefully, you can see that the problem was what weight loss products will help a person lose weight and will not make that person sick. And so the researcher has looked at a number of weight loss products, looked at the data available on each of them, and considered the quality of that data. That's an important thing. Consider the quality of the data that you're using. And so he effectively ranked the products by the quality of the data available. And say for the first one, Guarana, was effective for weight loss, but its safety was questioned, so it didn't meet that criteria of safety. And if you look at, let's see which one is, if you look at white bean extract, which is in the last part of that article, you'll see that there were methodological flaws and that the sample sizes were too small to make a judgment about the effectiveness of white bean extract. And for those of you who want to know, green tea actually is seen to be the best at the moment, but not taken as a supplement, but as actual green tea. So it's important to consider the quality of the data that you're using doing the research. All right, now, when you have a look at the rubric, the marking criteria for this decision, for this subject, for this assessment, you'll see that really this is a rubric which is actually a framework for making a decision, or a framework for doing something. And I've put up there part of this framework for decision making, and actually you can see there that it follows the 6 steps in decision making. We've got the problem defined, that sets out the criteria. We've got the alternatives that you can get, high distinction, distinction, credit, etc. And they're also part of the payoff. We've got the model, which sets out the grades, the mathematical model, which sets out the grades that you can get, or the marks that you can get for each section of the rubric. Now, this decision model is not just a decision model for me in marking the assessment, but it's also a decision model for you in terms of you deciding how much you're going to do to get a good mark or not. So this is a decision model that applies to both of us. make sure that you read through the decision model carefully and work out where you want to aim your result and your assessment. Finally, let's look at constraints and submission. I really don't want any more than 5 or to 7 slides, though I do want references, and that can be on additional slides, but the content needs to be limited to 5 to 7 slides. And I know people can talk a lot to one slide, so I want the voice added to each slide to be no more than 1 to 2 minutes. And then submit to EASTS. If you can do that, that would be really good. Okay then, any questions about this assignment should come to me, and I would prefer it if those questions went up on the forum so that everyone can see any responses to these questions. Unless, of course, you've got problems about meeting the due date, and of course, get in touch with me individually with respect to those. All right, all the best with the assessment.